It takes a village to help somebody get their diploma. Changes your whole life.
Find free adult education classes near you at finishyourdiploma.org.
I've just been in an accident. What am I supposed to do?
Before you act, let me attack. I'm Nathaniel Mack. Call today, 333-MAC. You don't pay unless we win. Let's call Mac.
Let's call Matt.
Nothing to do this week? Don't miss another event. Go to blacksinsanantonio.com for our event calendar. The home of the largest business directory in San Antonio with an African American focus. Sign up today for our weekly e-blast and text message alerts. Help us make this a better community. Connect, empower, grow.
Because it matters to you, it matters to us. It is Black Video News with your host, Keith Scott. Black Friday Live, San Antonio. Here we go.
I want to thank you all for tuning in to this celebrity edition of Black Friday Live. I'm your host, Keith Scott. Now, joining me today on this celebrity edition, you know this keyboardist, songwriter, arranger, composer, Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, Grammy Award, Lifetime Achievement Award, BET Lifetime Achievement Award, and the R&B Society Lifetime Achievement Award. I could go on talking about these awards, but he's joining us today right here on this Celebrity Edition by Skype, none other than with the iconic Isley brothers, and don't forget about Isley, Jasper Isley, none other than Mr. Chris Jasper. How we doing, Mr. Jasper?
I'm doing great, man. And thanks for that great introduction. It's great.
Thank you, sir. It is such an honor to, for you to take the time out and talk to us here on this celebrity edition of Black Friday Live. Now, Mr. Jasper, I'm going to go right into it. I know you're a Cincinnati, Ohio native, grew up on the same block with the Isley brothers. You come from a large family, 7 siblings. They come from a large family. All of a sudden, your sister marries Rudolph Isley. Man, tell us a little bit, and we're going to go in more into detail about, you being a young pianist, with your mom motivating you to go ahead and play. But tell us what it was like growing up on that block, man.
Well, at that time, I was very young. I was a toddler, so my memories are kind of foggy, because I think we moved away when I was like 2 years old. We moved to another part of town. But I used to come back to the neighborhood and play with Ernie and Marvin because they were my age. We were close in age. Rudolph, Ronald, and O'Kelly, they were older, so the age gap when you're young was huge. Ronald's he's like 11 years older than me, so that was a huge age gap. So we didn't play, with them. We played together. The 3 younger guys, we played together, but it was pretty cool.
Well, you started playing piano when you were really young, and you could touch on that. What were you, like 6 or 7 when you started playing?
So yeah, about 7, and I used to play by ear. I used to play the songs I hear on the radio, and I try to fill out the chords, and that's when my mother saw me doing that. She said, you should learn how to read music,
Right.
If you have talent, you can hear. You have a good ear for music. So I started to study with Professor Gibbs. He was a professor that went to our church, who was a great pianist, and I was blessed to be able to take lessons from him. And he's the one who started teaching me about composing and how the different composers would put together their pieces and the harmonies and the themes and the counterpoint and all that stuff. And I was a little guy, and I said I wanted to be a composer, and he said, well, you're going to have to work hard, if you want, because you have to learn a lot. You have to learn how to write for other instruments, and have to learn how to arrange. And I said, I I don't mind, the work. That's what I wanted to do. So that's when I got my first. That's when my education for composition started. Was when I was 6 years old.
That is so cool because we all have these gifts and talents. But you went to Juilliard in New York City. How does a young kid from Ohio get an opportunity like that to go to Juilliard to just really master your craft at a young age?
Yeah, that's when I graduated from high school. That's when I made that transition. I'd actually been studying architecture in high school.
Okay.
And I was gonna go to Ohio State at first, and I kind of had a decision to make because I was studying architecture for maybe 3-4 years, but I studied music for much longer,
Right.
So, all right, I'll try the music thing because I've been doing it the longest, and so that's kind of how I made the decision. And I got the opportunity to audition at the Juilliard School in Manhattan, and that was pretty intense, because you're sitting there and the judges are in the room, and you have to pick a piece to play, and it was pretty nerve-wracking, but I got through it, and when I started going, it was a great learning experience there, to be among such talented people. Everybody got talent there. Everybody was talented.
Yeah, I'm quite sure it was. But you all of a sudden hook up in the early 70s with those guys, which you just told our viewers that you were a young guy and 11-year age difference from the older Isley brothers. But you hook up in what, 72 with the Isley brothers?
Yeah, it was a little before that. How that happened was that the three of us younger guys, we had our own trio. We called ourselves the Jasmine Trio. Okay. And this is during our high school years. And we used to play, schools and church gigs and in the local area in New Jersey, because the Isleys moved to New Jersey before I moved to New York. Right. So I used to come up and visit and, jam with Ernie, because Ernie played drums, And so I used to say, Ernie, you know this song? I started playing, and Ernie would come in and he would play the drums, So that's how we kept the three youngest got started. But Marvin wasn't playing bass yet, when we first started doing that. This was like my freshman year in high school. Wow. Marvin, he wasn't playing bass yet. So maybe a year or two later, Marvin picked up the bass, and we became a trio, right? We called ourselves the Jasmine Trio. And the older guys, they were recording, This Old Heart of Mine and all that stuff at Motown. And so, but they would occasionally have people come over and watch us play, because they really liked how we played together, And so we kind of grew into playing with them because they wanted us to play with them. And that's how we kind of got together after, I think it was 70, 71. We started playing on the records with them, on a regular basis. And then from then on, we were a 6-member group.
Yeah, and let's go talk about that 6-member group, because, I remember the one Isley that always had the cane. You guys always had some of the coolest outfits in the 70s, and your stage presence was always so overwhelming. What was it like, just, growing up, maturing, playing with the Isley brothers? Because long after you got through playing, you have a solo career, but we'll talk about that. But what was it like, just touring all over the world, being a part of that iconic group, the Isley brothers?
It was pretty exciting, especially when it first started, because, when you first start doing anything, it's a new experience, and you're out there, you're hearing the roar of a crowd, and at first I was nervous, when we started, but we kind of grew into it, and it got familiar. But then as we got new material, the shows got more interesting, because we did some covers at first, but then when we started doing all our original stuff, and that stuff was really, the audience was really, participating and everything. That was a great thing to get that feedback, from the original material. And we went every, we went everywhere. Like we were talking earlier, San Antonio, Dallas, Houston, New Orleans. I mean, you name it, we played it, and it was a pretty exciting time.
Now, one of the things that I want my viewers to know that they may not know, and I know they're huge Isley Brothers fans, but you were actually one of the key components when we talk about learning as a composer and arranger at an early age. And you wrote a lot of those hits. Now, I gotta ask you, because you guys always had a certain style of music that we could pick it up right away. When the song started, we knew it was the Isley Brothers. Did that come from you, or was it like a collaboration with you and the brothers?
Well, that sound mainly came from me as the keyboardist and composer, because I would formulate different types of chords than other, say, musicians were playing at the time. And I used my classical training to develop those chords. Wow. In a regular triad, I play like a major 7 or 9. Maybe sometime I'll put a 6th degree of the scale in there to color it, give a certain color and a lush type of sound to it. Like, Make Me Say It Again, the piano in that, or For the Love of You. Those chords are different from your regular triads that people play. So, yeah, I did use a lot of my classical training in incorporating the sound for the group. And my music still sounds like that today.
Yeah, it really does. And I love the new track that you show somebody some love. Show some love. Yeah. Really, and you could hear that feel, that Isley groove. When I started listening to it, it took me back to Summer Breeze or something. And it was really cool. I said, you know what, Mr. Jasper? And first of all, you still look the same. And I told my wife I'm interviewing Chris Jasper. She's still screaming. She yelling and screaming in the kitchen. So you still got it when it comes to, how you would, attract all of the different fans that you guys did. But you know what? You had a long solo career and you're still making music, Mr. Jasper. Tell us a little bit about Gold City Records, because I know you got your own record label too. Tell us a little bit about what, encouraged you and motivated you after you left the group to, and I know you were with, Isley, Jasper, Isley, but just to start, your record label. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, well, when IJI disbanded, I said, well, okay, I want to have the freedom to do a lot of the things that I want to do musically. That's basically why I formed the label, is to have that creative freedom, because there's things that I'm doing now, because I'm solo, that I can do a little bit more than I used to do before, because sometimes you have to consider other group members when you're writing a song,
right.
Like, where they will be involved in it, but now I can take a song wherever I want to, and I can sign other artists, to the label, and, do production work, and things like that. So that's the reason why I formed, Gold City. And I've had it for a long time. My first album was Super Bad, and the first song was talking about education, right. And how important that is, and that you become super bad when you become educated, and that was the theme. A theme that I probably wouldn't have done with the Isley Brothers, or with a group, but since it was personal, that issue was personal to me. So, so I could do it,
Yeah, and you kind of just have that same feel, but over the years, you've had a lot of different solo projects, and I'm talking, you've been consistent from Super Bad all the way to Dance With You. Right now, you just had your own solo project that you just released for my viewers. Mr. Chris Jasper has a new project out there, a new album. Tell us a little bit about, how you keep, creating, all of these hits, man, these songs that has so much meaning, and you stay relevant with, because it's hard to change with the times of music. We know the music industry changes, but you've been consistent. You've been staying consistent. How do you stay so consistent?
I guess it's because the amount of time I used to spend, doing all the productions work in the past, that really prepared me for what I'm doing now. my study, the amount of music I've been exposed to throughout my career. I studied with Billy Taylor, the great pianist and jazz composer, out of university. I've had so many experiences that I can draw from. And see, to keep music fresh, I think the more you know about music, the more places you can draw ideas from. Like you mentioned, Show Somebody Love. That is a combination of R&B, a little touch of jazz, and just that exposure to those two genres, helped me create that song. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Caravan of Love was a pure soul ballad. You know what I mean? But it had some pop elements in it too. You know what I mean? So, and I think what I'm getting at is, I was so prepared as a young man and a young boy and a man in music that I can keep drawing from that deep well of experiences. And I think that's what it is.
Yeah, and that's a deep well too, because you're still doing it, when you talk about your latest project. Do you think that maybe because, you got two Isley brothers that are still out there, Mr. Big and Ernie are still doing their thing, and like you said, you used to play with Ernie because he was playing drums. You think you guys will ever collaborate again?
I don't know. I haven't given much thought about that. I mean, and nobody's made that suggestion to me. So, I've been working so hard, on my label and all the songs I've been doing, all the albums. I think in the last 4 years I've done 3 albums. The one, Share With Me and Dance With You. And so I've been doing studio work. Plus, I've been working on a film score for my son. He wrote a script, and I've been working on the music for that. So I haven't really given it much thought, but I don't know. You never know.
Yeah, is he a musician too as well, your son?
Yeah, he is. He does. He's working on his own music too, but he's also is a script writer. He writes. He's a brilliant writer, and he majored in film. One of his majors was film. In college, and he just graduated law school. So,
oh wow,
he's a very talented young.
That's good stuff. Now I got to go into it. Back in the days in the '70s, baby making music. Let's just call it what it was, because a lot of us came from some of them Isley Brothers songs. But you still got that same feel with your music today, and especially in this new project. Tell my viewers a little bit about the new project. And some of the songs that are on this latest project.
Yeah, well, Dance With You, the title track, that's like soul, typical soul ballad, classic R&B, whatever you would call it. But it has elements that I work with quite a bit musically, and the type of groove. Show Somebody Love is a little different, The Love That You Give, that's another, classic kind of Hello, It's Me type of feel to it, But there's also some funk on this album, there's Make Your Move, that's part of what I do too. I wrote The Pride, Take Me to the Next Phase. I was instrumental in putting that together, So there's a funk element in me too, Showdown, The Heat Is On, those are the things that I, did that had that funk thing to it, including Superbad, But this album it also has a spiritual message on it too. It's a miracle. And it has a little bit of everything. I wrote a new birthday theme as well, a happy birthday. Because I hear a lot of times people on the radio, they say, hey, I want to give a shout out to so-and-so and birthday, So I wrote a little a birthday song, for that too. So there's a lot of stuff on this album.
Well, I want my viewers to know too that, we talked about the sound and a lot of the different hits that came from you, but there were a lot of different hits, and I know you wrote The Pride and a bunch of other hits. Let's touch on that sound and a bunch of hits, because I want my viewers to know, Between the Sheets, the list goes on and on. Man, how did you get that creativity going, with that sound, with them hits, Mr. Jasper? Because you still got it today. How did you create, when we talk about being creative with that sound and those hits?
Mm-hmm. Well, I think songwriting is a gift, number one. I really do think that, a person has an inclination for that, number one. Because everyone who studies music is not necessarily a composer,
Right.
But I just had that inclination. Even with the Jasmine Trio, I would write original songs. There was a few original songs that we used to play, and but I think the way I was able to do it was I just drew on all the things that I'd learned, all the compositional tools, for so to speak. And I could come up with chord structures and things that were different. For example, "Live It Up" was a funk song, and I wrote that, and it was a heavy keyboard. Just about all keyboards. "The Pride," another keyboard song, and from the beginning to end, with some funk in there, and guitar and bass in there too. But I just drew on all of the things that I learned over the years. "For the Love of You," that came strictly from, a little bit of classical, a little bit from jazz, a little bit from R&B, and I would just incorporate all those things, and I really love to do it. That's another thing. I really love to write new things. That's my favorite thing in the whole business. Even more than is to go in the studio and record a new song. That was my thing. And
you're still doing it today, Mr. Jasper. Let's stay on that subject real quick about that funk, because a lot of that funk came from you and your creativity, but you still got some of that funk today, even with that new project. Let's talk about some of that funk on that new project.
Yeah, "Make Your Move." It has those things. There's some things that I kind of kept as part of my sound, and that's that heavy envelope type bass sound. The Neutron effect on different things, at different keyboards, and guitar, because I play guitar on a lot of stuff. I played guitar on "I Want to Be With You," one of the Isley Brothers songs. It was really funky, and I played bass on some things with the Isley Brothers too. People don't know the degree that I was involved in the music, and they hear my music today and they say, "Hey, wait, that sounds like the Isley Brothers." Yeah, but that's because I was playing a lot of those parts, that people don't know I was playing. Like "Take Me to the Space" was almost all keyboards, and that was me. That's my sound. So if I do a song like "Keep Believing," which was on one of my albums, it's like, "Oh, man, that sounds like the Isley Brothers song." But that's because I was playing so many parts on those records that I could still do it. I can still recreate, the same sound because I'm playing the instruments, the same instruments. That's how I can carry the sound. I couldn't do it if I wasn't playing all that stuff.
Yeah, and let's talk about that, because I remember, even on Soul Train, American Bandstand, I'm going back, but you played guitar and you had a mini mug or a keyboard on the guitar.
It was they call it a Moog Liberation. That's one of the keyboards. And I had another keyboard that was kind of a special keyboard. It was an ARC 2600, but I had it where they put straps on it. I had it kind of customized for me, so I could play a song like "Take Me to the Next Phase" and go out to the middle of the stage, and play it. Because before you just had these small cables on these synthesizers. The keyboard was attached to the main thing. So I got a long custom-made cable, and I had them custom-made, put a strap on there. And so I was kind of one of the first people to do that, for a keyboard player to be mobilized and move around, And so that was some great days. And then after "Take Me to the Next Phase," I noticed a lot of people start playing more movable bass lines with the synthesizer. That became the thing, to do, because that was a real funky bass line, and it was, kind of moving around,
you can say you're the architect for a lot of that stuff, but you've been doing your thing too. Now, do you tour? Because I know you got these new projects. Are you out on tour at all?
Not yet. I'm still in the promotion kind of phase, getting it out there to radio, That's kind of what I do most right now because I want, all the radio stations to have it and people to play it and get used to it. And then I'm going to go out there, when at the right time.
Well, yeah, I would like for my viewers to stay connected with you. How can they stay connected with you, Mr. Jasper, when it comes to a lot of these different projects that you have out?
Oh, yeah. If you go to chrisjasper.com, that's my main website, chrisjasper.com. You can get to everything. You can get to Facebook. You can get to Twitter. You can hear all the music, the discography, the music stores, CD Baby, Amazon, iTunes, all of that stuff you can get to from chrisjasper.com.
chrisjasper.com. Man, I'm so thankful. Lifetime Grammy Award winning Rock and Roll Hall of Famer, composer, songwriter, arranger, Mr. Chris Jasper. I want to thank you for taking the time out to talk to us on this celebrity edition of Black Friday Live.
Hey, my pleasure, man. Thank you.
Thank you. Keep up the great work. We love you here at BVN. This is Keith Scott with none other than Chris Jasper. Check out that new music he's got. He's still laying it down. Love that hot track. Show some love. Hey, we'll check you out next time right here on this celebrity edition of Black Friday Live. Thank you, Mr. Jasper. I'm Keith Scott. We'll see you next time. As always, be encouraged.